Okay, so let's take a look at converting fractions to decimals and percentages. So if we just take question 1. So 1/5, you're quite right, is 0.2, but writing 0 after the 2 doesn't do anything. Okay, we know that a half is 0.5, but we could write 0.5, 0.0000000. Well, they're all zeros, so we have a saying, trailing zeros have no value. So we just write 0.2, and the same with the half, 0.5. Okay, because 7/10, 0.7. You could write 0.7000, but it doesn't make any difference. It's still only 0.7. Now here, you may just notice above the 3 is a little dot. Now this is what we call a recurring point. Okay, so if I just explain to you what that means. If I have 0.3 with a dot above it, it means that this 3 recurs. Okay, it just keeps coming out 0.3333, and that will just keep going off into infinity. Okay. Now, there is a way of converting recurring decimals to fractions, but it's long-winded, okay, and it tends to be higher maths. So there are 2 recurring decimals that are worth remembering as a fraction. 0.3 recurring is exactly 1/3. Okay, 0.6 recurring is 2/3. Okay, now there are thousands of recurring decimals, but these 2 are the most common. So 0.3 with the little dot above it is 1/3. 0.6 with the little dot above it is 2/3. Okay, so they're the only ones really you need to commit to memory. Okay, so if we go back to the questions, so here, so put these in order starting from the smallest. The first one is done for you. Okay, so 3/4 is B. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got decimals, we've got fractions. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is explain to you how fractions, decimals and percentages are all linked. Okay, so if we have 0.5, we know that is a half. And if we were to talk about that in percentages, if they said, if you went into a shop and it was half off, okay, they wouldn't say it was half off. They would say it's been reduced by 50%, because we all know that a half is 50%. Now, if we had 0.25, 0.25 is half of 0.5. So this is a quarter. And a quarter as a percentage, you may know, is 25%. And this is the giveaway. If you notice, the first two numbers of the decimal is your percentage, 24%. Okay, so if we skip the fraction in between and we just convert decimals to percentages or percentages to decimals, it's really easy. So 0.47 is 47%. 0.63 is 63%. 0.81 is 81%. There is nothing to do except take the first two numbers and then write percent after it. It really is that simple. You can go the other way, so we can have 32% is exactly the same as 0.32, and 47 or 42% is 0.42. So changing these is really easy. Okay, decimals to percentages and percentages to decimals is really easy. If we get let's say we've got 0.275, remember we just take the first two numbers, so we get 27.5%, because all that happens is your decimal point moves back twice. So 0.363241, the decimal point just moves back twice, so we get 63.241%. That's all there is to it. If we want to change a decimal, a percentage back to a decimal, so let's say we've got 47.16%, the decimal point is going to go the other way because we know it's going to be 0 point something. So it just goes back two places, so we get 0.4716. So it really is that simple. Now if I explain to you why this happens, you may have learnt maths when you were younger in a different way, but when I was a kid we learned hundreds, tens and units. So 34 would be 3 tens and 4 units. Okay, and you probably did learn it this way. Okay, what they don't tell you is after units there is the decimal point, and the first row, like everything that's in the units row or the tens row, everything that's in the first row after the decimal point is tenths. Okay, because we know that 0.5 is 5 tenths, and if we cancel 5 tenths down we get 1/2. So we get tenths. Then the next row is hundredths, and the next row is thousandths, and so on. Okay, so if we took 0.47, well, let's do it this way. If we've got 0.7, 7 is in the tenths row, so we know that 0.7 is 7/10, okay, because you did that in the test or in the assignment. So if I've got 0.3, then that will be 3/10, because the 3 is in the tenths row or column. Okay, so if we have 0.47, so we've got 0.47, this is tenths and this is hundredths. Well, we would have to add 4/10 plus 7/100. Now, I don't know about you, but I really can't be bothered with that. So there is a shortcut, which is that we read along, go to the last number, and then go up. So what we've got is 47/100. So I'm running out of room now. So we've got 47/100, and anything over 100 is a percentage. So we read along and then up. Okay, so if we've got 0.56, then I've got 5/10 and 6/100, or I've got 56/100. Okay, because I've got 5/10 and 6/100, so that's 56/100. Okay, you can go further than that. You can go 0.716. Well, we've got tenths, we've got hundredths, and we've got thousandths. Now, I can't be asked with adding a 7/10 plus 100 plus 6 thousandths. So what I do is I read along and go up. So what I've got is 716 thousandths. Okay, and this will always work. And if you want to write tenths, hundreds, thousands, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, but this is why what we're doing applies. So changing a decimal to a fraction is very, very easy. Okay, so if we had 0.6, well, the 6 is in the tenths column, so that's 6/10. With fractions, we always look to see, can we cancel? So I know that 6 and 10 can both be cancelled by 2. So 2's into 6 goes 3, and 2's into 10 goes 5. So 0.6 is 6/10, which cancels to 3/5. Okay. So if I've got 0.24, then what I've got, remember, tenths and hundredths, so what I've got is 24 hundredths. We always look to see if we can cancel. Now, always keep it simple. They're both even numbers, so I can divide both by 2. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. And 100 divided by 2 is 50. So can I cancel again? Well, yeah, I can, because 12 and 50 are both even numbers. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 0.24 is actually 6 over 25. Okay, but you take your time. Okay, you cannot rush this. You just cannot rush it. You will make mistakes. So because we know there's a link, if we go back to the question, because we know there's a link between decimals and percentages, and that converting between the two is really easy. The only problem that we've got is fractions, okay, because they're not helping us at all. Okay, so far it says put these in order starting from the smallest. Well, I can see that 0.72 is smaller than 0.799. Okay, I can see that that is smaller than that. But the 3/4, the 4/5, the 9/10, not so sure about. Now, the 9/10, I'm sure you probably know, is 0.9. Okay, because remember, anything in the tenths column is straight after the decimal point, so we would get 0.9. So that's a very high number, so that's bigger than this and it's bigger than this. But 3/4 and 4/5, the only way we can make sense of that is by changing them to a decimal, and changing them to a decimal couldn't be easier. Okay, so if we've got 3/4, we want to change that to a decimal. What you do is this: you divide the bottom number into the top. Okay, and it will have to look wrong. Okay, not often a maths teacher will tell you that. You will want to do this. You will want to go 3 into 4 because you know that 3 goes into 4. But it has to look wrong. So we're dividing 4 into 3. And I know that 4 won't go into 3. Okay, and that's the point. Because it won't go into it, we would put a 0 there. Okay, and then we put down a decimal point on the bottom and the top. And on the bottom we just put down a few zeros. Okay, because 3 is exactly the same as 3.000. So now 4's into 3 doesn't go, so we put 0 up there, and we put 3, we carry it across, same as any other division, we just carry it across. Now 4's into 30 is 7, because 4 7's are 28, leaving me a remainder of 2. So now I've got 20. and 4's into 20 goes exactly 5 times. So 3/4 is the same as 0.75, and just as a sideline, we now know that that's 75% as well, if ever we wanted to know. So we now know that that's 0.75. So in this question, 3/4, we now know that it's 0.75. Okay, so what we're doing is we're changing everything to decimals. So 4/5. So if we take 4/5, so we're going to divide the bottom into the top, and it looks wrong. So 5 into 4. That looks very wrong. So we put a decimal point down and some zeros, and a decimal point above it. Now 5's into 4 doesn't go. Okay, and because it looks wrong, you will always get 0 point, which is what we know should happen. So the 4 gets carried across. So now we've got 40. So how many 5's in 40? 5/8 of 40. So 4/5 is 0.8. So now you've converted all of these to decimals. Answering the question now really is a piece of cake. Okay, it really is a piece of cake. So change the following decimals to fractions. Give your answer in their simplest form. Okay, so 0.3. Well, 0.3, we've only got the one number, so that's cool. So 0.3, 3 is in the tens column. So that's going to be 3/10. Okay, that's all there is to that. Now B, again, they want it as a fraction. So now what we've got is 4 in the tenths and 6 in the hundredths. So I read across and up. So 46 hundredths. Now 46 hundredths is a right answer, but it can be righter, because the question says in its simplest form, so that means cancel it if you can. So they're both even numbers. So 46 I can divide by 2, and 100 I can divide by 2. So 46 divided by 2 is 23, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. And I can't go any further than that, because there's nothing that will go into 23 and 50. So my answer is 23 over 50. Okay, so now what we've got here, remember, hundreds, tenths, thousands. So what we've got here, we've got no tenths, but we've got 700s and 5,000s. So that's 75 thousandths. Okay, 75 thousandths. Okay, because you read along and then up. So I can divide both of these by 5. That would be nice and easy. So 5's into 75, so that will be 125, so that would be 15. And 5's into 1,000 would be 200. And again I can see 5 and 0, so I can divide by 5 again. So 5's into 15 goes 3, and 5's into 200 goes 40. So 75 over 1,000 is the same as 3/40. Okay, so I just put it in as a fraction, so that's 3/40. Okay, there are my answers. Oh, and it says show answers, and I've got them all right. 3/10, 23/50, and 3/40. Okay, I don't have a button up there to mark it. I just have show answers because I'm the teacher, so I get to see everything. Okay, so all of this stuff is really simple if you break it down. So which of these following fractions is closest to 5/8? I have no idea because none of them are 8s. So what I would do is I would turn them into decimals, okay, including the 5/8. Now you can see down here that you can use a calculator. So I would divide 8 into 5, that would tell me what that is as a decimal. 3 into 2, 20 into 13, 16 into 11. They're horrible numbers, that's why they allow you to use a calculator. Okay, you then convert them into decimals, then it's much plainer to see which is higher, which is closer, which is more than. Okay, but don't forget to write your answer in the answer box as a fraction. Okay, they don't want to know what it is as a decimal, they want to know as it is as a fraction. Okay, now again, changing decimals to fractions, so you would do exactly the same as we did previously. Okay, so here a half, I'm sure you know, is 50%, and you now know that there's no zero, so this is 0.5. 25% is half of 50%. Oh, sorry. 1/5. I read that as a half, and I'll read it down here. So 1/5 we need to change to a percentage, so we're going to change it to a decimal first. So 1/5, we divide the bottom into the top, so 5's into 1 because it has to look wrong. We put a decimal point down and some zeros and a decimal point above it. 5's into 1 doesn't go, so we carry the 1 across. 5's into 10 goes 2. So we get 0.2. So we know as a decimal it's 0.2. As a percentage, remember we've got 0.2. As a percentage, remember the decimal point will go back 2 places. So we go 1, 2. There's nothing here, so we put in a 0, so we get 20%. Okay, if there's nothing there, we write 20%. Now the half, come back to what you were saying, or what I was saying earlier, as a percentage we know is 50%, and as a decimal 0.5. That's always worth remembering. And then, as I was going to say previously, 25% is half of 50%, so half of a half is a quarter. And as a decimal, 25% must be 0.25. It really is that simple. And then we've got this one with the recurring point, and this is why I say is to convert this to a fraction you would actually use high-end algebra. So it's worth remembering 0.3 is a third, 0.6 is 2/3. Okay, so if it's 0.6 recurring, that's 66.6%, then that's 2/3. If it's 0.3, which is 33.3%, then that will be 1/3. Okay, and if I show the answers, they're exactly the same as I've written. Okay, so I hope that's helped, and I hope it explains it a little bit better. If it doesn't, get back to me, and I'll have a stab at trying to make it slightly easier. Okay, but take your time. Okay, when you're converting fractions to decimals, divide the bottom into the top. It should look wrong. And decimals to percentages, percentages to decimals, the decimal point just moves 2 points to the 2 places to the right or 2 places to the left. Okay, it really is that simple. Okay, I hope that helps, and good luck.